Here we go. Oh shit, I got it! Let's go then! What is up everyone? Yesterday I reached Legend running my absolute favorite Pokemon, Ludicolo. I've started putting Ludicolo into every single one of my Go Battle League teams ever since I hit the 2700s like 2 weeks ago, just hoping to make the final push to Legend with it. Unfortunately, this did not go well at all at the start though. As much as I love Ludicolo, it is not that great of a Pokemon, unfortunately. There's a reason it's ranked like number 400 in the Great League Remix, right? So it was a struggle at the start. I was stuck at 2700s for like 1.5 weeks. But that all changed when I found this team, when I built this team with Abomasnow, Ludicolo, and Jellicent. I dare to say that this is not just a good Ludicolo team. I think it's actually a good team that just happens to have Ludicolo in it. As it turns out, Ludicolo does have quite a lot of play in the Great League Remix, especially against the Jellicents, the Whiscashes, and the Skarmories that are so common. So this is actually a team I do recommend, even though Ludicolo maybe is just a little bit of a meme. It is still extremely playable. Anyway, we're gonna head into these battles. Oh, before that, by the way, I haven't really posted that many videos lately. Haven't really had time to, but I've still been streaming every day pretty much on Twitch, so go check me out there. All these battles, every single Ludicolo battle I did is on there too, or was on there too, so go follow me there so you don't miss any streams. Anyway, let's get into the battle, starting off with a Charjabug lead. Technically, the whole team does lose to Charjabug, but generally I haven't really found it a problem to deal with. Especially Abomasnow as a fine matchup, can get it low enough to where the rest of my team doesn't really have to worry about it. By the way, I'm running regular Abomasnow with Icy Wind. That is the moveset I would recommend on regular Abomasnow especially. I do think Shadow Abomasnow also has play, but you should run it with Weather Ball. But personally, I prefer regular with Icy Wind because it has a lot better neutral matchups, especially into Pokemon like Lickitung and Cresselia. Icy Wind can win those pretty consistently. Anyway, my opponent actually just tried to catch an Icy Wind on their Jellicent there, which is totally fine with me. I just stay in, throw an Energy Ball. I can even get to a second Energy Ball before they can reach a Surf here. So we're gonna throw that. And now bring in Ludicolo. Really glad they used 2 shields here, because now Ludicolo's shields down can really put in work. And they're gonna throw Shadow Ball here, but look at Ludicolo luckily has enough bulk to be able to withstand one of them. Now we're gonna take this Surf. They only threw 9 bubbles, which is not enough for double Shadow Ball. Double Shadow Ball is 10 bubbles, so knowing that it's 9, I could easily no-shoot that, because Surf is double resisted, and still get to a Leaf Storm here to knock out the Jellicent. Bye-bye. They bring out Charjabug now, only 1 bubble away from the Skulls, should be easily able to knock it out, but they actually bring in Whiscash. And even though my attack has been double dropped because of the Leaf Storm earlier, it still knocks out the Whiscash. Out comes Charjabug now, and yeah, the game is over. I just bring in Abomasnow. They can throw an X-Scissor, which I kind of caught there, but that's fine, and I still outpaced them to an Icy Wind, which my opponent knows, so they concede the match. GG. Alright, Skarmory lead, kind of awkward for this team, but Ludicolo has a surprisingly good matchup there, especially when shields are up, bubbles and scalds really add up, and you actually do outpace, so not too bad. Out comes Dragonair. Now, this is not good for Ludicolo, but generally you can get a shield here. So I scald first, I even get the attack drop, and this is not something that usually happens, but my opponent allows me to CMP tie here, they throw the Body Slam, and because of the attack drop I got, I actually take it. I survive at 1 HP and get to the Leaf Storm. Now, this is not something you should expect to happen, like, usually, but it happened this time, and it was just incredible that Ludicolo could do that. But yeah, generally, you should expect not to get there, to be honest, but, you know, it's awesome that it happened anyway. And now I can bring out Abomasnow, just go for a full farm down. I should be able to farm this down before they get to the 3rd Body Slam, but it's gonna be close. So I need like 5 more Powder Snows, and I knock them out in 5 Powder Snows. So they actually went down with the Body Slam there. Very, very close. Out comes Skarmory now. I'm gonna throw an Icy Wind before I dip into my Jellicent. I'm expecting Whiscash in a back at this point, which Jellicent may just be able to deal with. But there's also still Skarmory to deal with. Since I dropped their attack, I'm expecting them to go for the Brave Bird, which even though their attack is dropped, would still do a ton. So I just had to shield up. A good shield. This did end up being the Brave Bird, and now they bring out Gligar. At this point, I'm looking pretty good. This can only be in Aerial Ace now, so if they would have overfarmed more, I would have thrown a Surf immediately, since I didn't want to take a dig. But because this was just an Aerial Ace and I threw basically immediately, I'm going to throw my Surf after farming up a little bit more energy. because now I should be able to easily outpace the Skarmory to a Shadow Ball, which will put him in a range where an Icy Wind from my Abomasnow will knock out. And I'm only one Powder Snow away from my Icy Wind with Abomasnow, and I know I can survive one Steel Wing, so I'll just bring it in now. Icy Wind to Skarmory, and that's another good game. A little bit lucky I got to the Leaf Storm there versus the Dragonair at 1 HP, but we take those. Poliwrath lead. Now, this is a very awkward lead, to be honest. Generally not one you should expect to win, but you can win them if your opponent has like a not so favorable backline, or I mean a bit favorable backline for you, but not so favorable for them. I bring out Ludicolo into Poliwrath. Ludicolo versus Poliwrath is actually not that good for Ludicolo when shields are up, because counters do a lot and bubbles do nothing, and they can just shield the Leaf Storms. Luckily for me though, they do end up switching out, which is exactly what I want. And they bring out Lickitung, which is awesome, because now my Jellicent can avoid the Lickitung. My opponent throws a Body Slam here. They did not need to, but this works out very well for me. Because now I can just bring out Abomasnow and hopefully farm this Lickitung all the way down. Lickitung, by the way, is the reason why I don't generally pivot Jellicent. You'll usually see me pivot Ludicolo into bad leads, since it's just much less likely to get hard countered than Jellicent, since there are Lickitung around. And I've also noticed that whenever I switch Ludicolo, oftentimes Lickitung will come out if they have it, since that's just a very good neutral option to put on my less like bulky Ludicolo. And then that frees up Jellicent a lot. Anyway, the Poliwrath actually threw an Icy Wind into my Jellicent, which makes this matchup versus Carbink pretty awkward. I'm running Hex on Jellicent, and this is for a couple reasons. Firstly, Poliwrath becomes better. Also, opposing Jellicent will become better, though I'm not really worried about that. It's mainly for Mantine. Mantine actually really sucks for both the Abomasnow and Ludicolo, so I figured I wanted Hex on Jellicent just to be able to deal with that a little better. But it definitely does not help me out here versus this Carbink. Anyway, we still bring it into the red after 3 serves. Should be able to fire off another one soon. Yeah, good timing here. 3 hexes for their 5 rock throws. Throw this. Abomasnow actually has a little bit of energy. Not much, but I may be able to get to an energy ball versus the Poliwrath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shield this up, save this serve, bring in a Abomasnow to kind of get a little bit of farm before I bring out the Poliwrath, because rock throws will do less encounters. Get to the energy ball first, the Poliwrath. This will knock out, and then I have to hope I can take out the Carbink with that serve loaded on my Jellicent. Fortunately, I just barely can't farm him down, but yeah, we still have the serve, and as long as the button comes up, which luckily it does, sometimes it doesn't, we get off the serve. Oh, I had some, like I said, all these battles were done on stream, and my screen mirror thing didn't really work that well sometimes, so you're gonna see some errors of the screen recorder in this game, but luckily not that much. Hopefully it's not too distracting, but anyway, won that game. Next match, bad lead, pivot into Ludicolo, out comes Gligar. This is not an amazing matchup for Ludicolo, but I can grab shield advantage here. And afterwards, I should be able to bring out Abomasnow, shield once, farm all the way down. I can take one aerial ace from Shadow Gligar as well. Abomasnow not super tanky, but tanky enough to take that. Oh, that actually did a lot. That's actually surprising amount of damage. Yeah, Abomasnow it's always disappointing me with its bulk, but it makes up for it with its stats, or its attack stat. Anyway, yeah, Lickitung comes out and it's just all the way a hard counter. That happens sometimes. There's just nothing you can do. All right, another Poliwrath lead. Bring out my Ludicolo here. You could consider switching Jellicent as well. There have been games against Poliwrath lead where I wish I switched Jellicent, since I just didn't have a great answer. But generally, I do expect Jellicent answers behind Poliwrath, so that's why I wouldn't recommend it. Anyway, they actually allow me to get to 2 Leaf Storms here. Like, you can get both shields down here with your Ludicolo versus Poliwrath, which puts your Abomasnow into a good spot later in the game. Like, let's say they switch out Poliwrath now, you can always get to an Energy Ball with Abomasnow to knock out this Poliwrath later. So, getting shields down, definitely not the worst case scenario. Unfortunately, once I brought down my Jellicent, they do actually debuff my attack, meaning that I couldn't really stay in versus Steelix. Had they not debuffed my attack, I might have considered staying in and throwing a Surf or 2. Though, at this point, I am expecting Carbink in the back. This is a common line I've seen, the Steelix switch and a Carbink in the back. Generally, it's with Jellicent in the lead, but this time it was with Poliwrath. So in that case, if it is the Carbink I'm expecting in the back, what I just did was probably the right play, as I need to save my Jellicent for it. Gonna throw another Icy Wind into the Steelix. Could also be Gligar though. In that case, saving my Abomasnow would have been nice. Anyway, I kind of want to save an energy ball on my Abomasnow. So I actually shield there. But I don't end up throwing it. Because I feel like I'd rather use the Surf on the Steelix to knock it out than a full Icy Wind. Because since it's just slightly less energy. Actually, they're the same. Oh, they're just slightly less energy. Yes. But they actually end up almost catching it on Poliwrath. But luckily, I didn't quite tap it. So I get to throw the Shadow Ball. Doesn't knock out though. So I need to throw another Surf. At this point, there's still a full Pokemon of my opponent in the back. And it does end up being that Carbink. And yeah, this is just bad news. Maybe I should have shielded an attack earlier, since now I'm likely gonna go down with shields. But this Carbink would likely get to an attack as well, so I don't think that really mattered. Still have an energy ball stored on the Abomasnow though. Remember this, and I can switch it in right now. Throw the energy ball. If this knocks out, there may actually be a chance, but Carbink is just way too bulky. Takes 2 Surfs, takes the energy ball. Actually, I throw an attack, which I feel is a mistake by my opponent, since I should just go for the fast attack down, actually giving me a chance now. But yeah, Steelix is still too healthy, and they can knock me out with a single Dragon Tail. GG. Alright, Lickitung. This is where Icy Wind Abomasnow really comes in clutch. Straight Icy Wind, you win every single even shield scenario here. So that's really nice. And I can set up your Jellicent in the back. Because generally I found these Lickitung leads are not like super strong versus Jellicent. So as long as you can get rid of the Lickitung with your Abomasnow, you should be in decent shape. Just gonna throw my next Icy Wind immediately. That's important. Throw the Icy Winds immediately because you want those attack drops as soon as you can. Now there's 2 things you can do here. You can either throw another Icy Wind or try to catch the second bodies or the third body slam on your Ludicolo to save Abomasnow for later. I've tried both. Generally, this is what I prefer to do because sometimes, like generally, you just want switch advantage, to be honest. So that's what I decided to do now, though that catching ID definitely works sometimes as well. In this case, I'm glad I did this because now I actually want to say I can bring in Jelly versus Chris, but it seems I actually went in Ludicolo, and this is a reason because I was expecting there to be like Gligar in the back, and Jellicent is better versus Gligar than Ludicolo is. It actually ends up being Charjabug though, and this is kind of rough. Luckily, I have a little bit of energy on Ludicolo from that Cresselia that I did a couple bubbles in, but it's not much. It's definitely not much, and they will outpace me. Actually, are able to throw the X-Scissor on good timing here too. Luckily, I got the attack drop, which may help me later. I go for the Scald. This will put the Charjabug very, very low if they let it go. So, they do, that'd be ideal. And they do let it go. This puts me in a good spot. I even tried to catch the X-Scissor on my Jellicent here, but my opponent actually made a very good play, knowing that Discharge would knock out Ludicolo too, and there's also potential for a catch. They actually went for Discharge instead, which is just a fantastic play right there. This may just put me near Grass Knot range. That's scary. Luckily, it does not knock out, though. I think I'm going to get Psycho Cut down, though, if I go for double Shadow Ball. Also, I do believe they just outpace me to a Grass Knot if I go for the Shadow Ball. So, I throw a Surf Bait. They still outpace me to a Grass Knot, but because they had to throw this Grass Knot pretty much instantly, my Ludicolo is now able to get to this Leaf Storm, just barely, and will be able to knock out this Cresselia. Scald may have been enough as well, but I knew they were not going to be at that Grass Knot just yet, so I made sure to get the knockout there with Leaf Storm. Okay, Gligar lead. Actually, because I'm running Icy Wind, Gligar does outpace me. It makes that matchup a little worse. Actually, a lot worse. Gligar, Shadow Gligar especially, can actually win the 1 shield there. It's kind of bad, but generally, if you spend 2 shields in a Gligar matchup, you're in a good spot because you get switch advantage and you have a Abomasnow with like an Icy Wind loaded afterwards, so it's a good lead, but do know that it's a worse matchup than like the Weather Ball variant has. Anyway, opponent brought out Jellicent, take it out with the Ludicolo. That Leaf Storm was just incredible. Out comes Dragalge now. Turns out my opponent is pretty much triple weak to Abomasnow, so yeah, this is pretty nice. We Scald it. I made sure to Scald it once I was very, very low, because I did not want to drop this Dragalge's attack and allow him to get more farm of my Ludicolo. So I Scalded them once my health was already very low. 1 Dragon Tail would knock out either way, so they would get the minimal amount of farm off of my Ludicolo. Anyway, I go for the Icy Wind on the Gligar that my opponent brings in. At this point, I know that Jellicent can just safely win this game. All I need to do is hit one Surf into this Gligar. Actually end up over farming here. I was expecting him to throw at 6 to CMP tie with me on the Surf, but I actually end up throwing on 7, which could be a dig, but even dig, they're debuffed. Not really that worrying, so I let it go, and at that point, since the area is, then it was just over. They concede the match, GG. Alright, Mantine lead. Now this is very tough. It's very tough, but manageable, because the back line is usually Steelix Carbink, which is double weak to both Ludicolo and Jellicent. So as long as you can get the Mantine very low, with the Abomasnow, you may be okay. And generally, this is like an ABB team too, so opponents do often opt to switch out into their Steelix, even though Mantine has a great matchup versus Abomasnow, which this opponent does. I've thrown Icy into the Steelix before switching into Ludicolo, because this is like really not that great of a matchup if the Steelix is not debuffed, since bubbles just still don't do enough, and well, it takes longer to get to the Scald than it takes for them to get to the Psychic Fangs. I'm expecting Mantine to come out, but I still go for Scald, kind of expecting them to shield, and then I can get to 2. Notice how no wing attack came through here, by the way. I thought they CMP tied, so I lost focus. I was like, I'll just end 30 area ways, but they did not CMP tie. I could have thrown, and also no shield, by the way. I could have thrown another Scald, which would have either grabbed the shield or knocked out that Mantine, but because I wasn't paying attention for like a second, assuming they had CMP tied with me, I don't get to throw it. And this just puts me in a rough spot. This Carbink, because I'm running Hex, this is really not a great matchup. It is a good matchup for Jellicent. It's a winning matchup, but it's not great. And there's still a Mantine with quite a bit of energy left too. So at this point, I'm not sure if Jellicent will be able to take care of both. But let's see. We get to another Surf. Unfortunately, this does not knock out the Carbink. This is just like a 1468 Carbink too. And it's just easy surviving 3 Surfs. Absolutely insane. Out comes Mantine now. Good play by my opponent. Just get this energy off. At this point, I know the game's over. I think I only have 1 Wincon, and that's like building up to 2 Surfs here, switching into a Bomb to just farm down the Mantine, and then double surfing the Carbink. But yeah, unfortunately, I got to area ice before I could do that, and I lose this match. All because I did not throw that second Scald. Had I done that, I actually would have beaten like a pretty difficult lead, which is, they're so unfortunate. But, you know, those things happen. Those things happen. Next lead. We had a very positive matchup. Our opponent switches out into the Lickitung, which is just amazing for me, because Abomasnow is my Lickitung answer. Just go straight for the Icy Wind here, take the Body Slam, go for another. It's easy. It's easy. Easy strategy here. Go for another, drop the attack. At this point, maybe I want to save my Abomasnow, but seeing as it's Jellicent in the lead, I think I'd rather just go for switch advantage, right? Just take out the Lickitung, get Ludicolo aligned to the Jellicent, and we should be in an okay spot. Thing is, Bubble Ludicolo versus Jellicent is actually not amazing. It can actually get kind of close. Knowing that it is a Jellicent and I want my Ludicolo on it, I bring in Jellicent versus their Carbink. And just start throwing Surfs here. I don't feel like I have an amazing spot though, because Carbink can actually win the Zero Shield scenario versus Jellicent. They got double Rock Slide. And then I need Ludicolo to beat both the Jellicent with shields and their Carbink, which is not easy since Leaf Storm debuffs my attack. So if they like shield a Leaf Storm, the next Leaf Storm won't actually knock out their Jelly and I can't bubble them down. So I make sure to save my Jelly so I can potentially clear the debuff later if they were to shield this Leaf Storm. And that should put me in a pretty good spot. So go for Leaf Storm straight away since I know yourself a debuff clear later and my opponent tries to combo bait. Bye bye Jelly. That's why you don't bait. And they concede the match. GG. Yeah, that's one thing I found with this team. A lot of people like to no shield versus Ludicolo. I don't think they realize how much Leaf Storm does, or they just think I'm always gonna go for Scald Bait. So the start of my run, I was throwing a lot of Scald Baits, and a lot of them were getting no shielded. So this past week, I've just been throwing Leaf Storm, even when they've had 2 shields. And honestly, like 50% of the time, just let it go. And you win the match just off of that. So that's what I recommend you do if you were to run this team. Anyway, that was it for today. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next one. Good luck with your battle stringers.